And I would ask the person a real simple question. Is there anything right now keeping you from giving your life to Christ? Because once you get into this circle that God exists, Jesus Christ claims to be God, it's a delight. I was talking to a friend of mine who was an atheist, and we were talking in great detail about this, and I got to the end of the cycle here, Bible, and the person just broke down sobbing. I said, you ready? And the person said, yeah. And right there, I'll never forget what he said. Lord, I'm sorry about being such a big jerk. I know you're true. I've known it all along. I thought of the verse, the fool has said in his heart there is no God. Really no such thing as atheism, really, when it comes down to it. Everyone knows there's something in there. The very fact that we know the concept of God means there's something there. But I'll never forget when that person gave their life to Christ, and they went crazy sharing Jesus with people. See, it's the truth that propels me into this next section that we're going to have this afternoon, into sharing my faith, into telling people about Jesus. It's truth. I know for a fact that we didn't evolve. Now, I know we've evolved micro-wise within a species. The woolly mammoth's not a short-haired elephant. Mankind's basically taller. I understand that's true. I know that microevolution based on environmental conditions has happened, and I can prove that's true. But macroevolution from one species to another, I can prove it's not true. As a matter of fact, the top evolutionist in the country, whose name was Stephen Gould, the chairman of the Harvard Biology Department, he said in a letter before he passed away a few years ago, he said in a letter to a scientific journal, we have nothing verifiably true concerning macroevolution. He said that in a letter. And then he said, but we're going to believe by faith what we know is true until science catches up with what we know is true. I said, uh-oh, evolution has become a religion. So I never make fun of them. I don't make fun of evolutionists. Like I don't make fun of Baptists or Methodists or Nazarene or... I don't make fun of it. I don't care. It's like we have a dividing line down the middle of a long time ago when Copernicus and Galileo said that we're not the center of the solar system, that the sun is, and the Catholic Church excommunicated them. And there's a major dividing line that came right down the middle of our system of thought. On one side you had religion and philosophy. On the other side you had science, and it started the Enlightenment movement, period. And all these different periods that came out of it. So you had religion and philosophy on one, and science was saying this is true, and they're saying no, it's not true. But you know what's happened today? We flop sides. Now science is on the side of philosophy. We believe it by faith. Christianity is on the side of science now. I know it's true, and I can prove it. And that's the kind of confidence I have when I share my faith with people. I mean, very few people want to go to hell. Very few. I've only met one, as a matter of fact. And 30 minutes later, he believed otherwise. I looked at my watch and said, hey, it's 11:15. Make sure that when you die, you told God you had a chance. The term for me is brat. Taking notes is B-R-A-T. But you see this right here? This is the circle. This is it. Got it? We have any questions this morning? Anybody want to ask a question? I need someone to raise their hand and ask, what about the guy in Africa who's never heard then? Anybody tough enough to do that? Yes, in the back. I see that hand. Great question. Great question. It's brilliant. I don't know how you came up with it, but that's straight A student, aren't you? Okay. Well, the guy in Africa's never heard. I always ask the question back in response to this. I do a lot of seminars where I travel around I've been in 7 different schools in the Southeast now. And I ask them to fill up the room with as many skeptics and atheists, like half the room with skeptics and atheists, and the other half I want to be the strongest Christians. Had several hundred at Clemson when I did it at Clemson. I didn't say several hundred atheists and skeptics, I said several hundred students in the room. But I had half the atheists, some biology professors. I did it at University of South Carolina, at Charleston Southern, University of Charleston University, whatever it's called, College of Charleston. And I've done it at different schools, Winthrop, and every time this question gets asked. People have a lot of questions. By the way, all I do is have them write down their questions so they can be mean and nasty to me. And we have about a 48% conversion rate right now. It's unbelievable. When their questions get answered, it's something about how they start putting their faith in it. It's pretty cool. But the question about the guy in Africa has never heard is a great question. So I asked back to him, you talking about the good guy in Africa? Yeah, the good guy. Talking about the guy who obeys his conscience, the guy who lives his conscience clean and pure. Yeah, that guy. What about that guy who's never heard of Jesus? I said, he goes to heaven. And all my Christians go, what? I go, hold on now. Let's look at it analytically. Romans chapter 1, God says he makes himself known to all creation, and it's a general revelation. He's made himself known, so the people without excuse. It's not enough to save you, but it's a general revelation. Everyone knows there's a God. Chapter 2, it says, indeed when Gentiles, in verse 14, indeed when Gentiles who do not have the truth, that's the guy in Africa who's never heard, who do by nature things required by the truth, they show that the truth is written on their hearts, their thoughts now defending, now even accusing them, they have a conscience. If they obey their conscience, they can go to heaven. Chapter 3 of Romans says there's no such person. Everyone has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And all of our mouths are open tombs, the poison of vipers is on our lips. Everyone has sinned. So then I asked the question to these guys who asked me the question, what about you? If you know the truth and you don't go tell them, what happens to you when you die? Do you imagine having the cure for cancer and keeping it to yourself? You know what this is? This is a high-powered cure right here. That's amazing stuff. Grab hold of it. If I'm confusing you at all, that's okay. I lived that way all of my life. So, I have a drinking problem. Just kidding, loosen up. I'm just saying, this right here is amazing stuff. You answer the questions, then you ask them, are you ready to come to Christ? Because I believe that sharing your faith needs to be done by all of us. Not all of us have the gift of the evangelist. You know, the story of Stephen when he was stoned to death. And Paul was there, whose name was Saul at the time. They dropped his clothes. And it says in chapter 8, verse 1, a great persecution broke out against the church, and all except for the apostles were scattered. All except for the apostles were scattered. Now, all except for the apostles was about 25,000 Christians at the time. The largest church in the world was in Jerusalem, the mothership. And all of them are running for their lives. What percentage of that church had the gift of the evangelist? Well, when we study churches today, we have found an estimation is about 6% have the gift of the evangelist. How many have the gift of leadership? About 6%, same number. How many are shy and introverted? Around 40%. How many of them, they wouldn't share their faith for $1 million? 40%. You know what the Bible says about these people who are running for their lives? And as they were scattered, you know what it says in verse 4? As they were scattered, they preached the word wherever they went. I'm not talking about the gift of the evangelist here. I'm talking about the shy, introverted person who knows nothing about how to share their faith. Guess what? You can do it. It's all a matter of whether or not you love Jesus. Because these guys who are running for their lives because of preaching the gospel were preaching the gospel while they were running. Now, I don't know how many of you can be Stephen. None of us. None of us, probably. When I went to Egypt, they told me there's a 50% chance that I would come back alive. I think I told you this past November. I'm still here. So that kind of flowed me a little bit. But who's going to die for their faith in this congregation? Probably, I don't know. Chances are 0, maybe 1 or 2. And you'd be amazing. People would follow you. But how many of you would live for him? I hope more than 0. I hope that the reason why you're here is to be trained so that you can go to your mission field when you leave here.